Don't you worry, the clip's about to begin, but don't forget to subscribe. Or else, don't make me turn this website around.
So our last call of the evening is Samson. Thank you very much for waiting. I think you've been waiting for quite a long time on call. We had so many calls, but can you hear us? Hello?
Hello? Oh, we might have lost Samson in the wait.
Samson, can you hear us? We can't hear you at the moment.
Oh, hello. Hello.
Oh, hi.
Oh, there we go. Awesome.
Just in time.
The live video is a bit, out of time with the phone call, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I'm a trans, non-binary, autistic person, and if I ramble a bit, that's because I also have ADHD. So I have a bit of an interesting conversation, I suppose, about the the intersection between transphobia and ableism, because that's something I've experienced quite a lot myself. I go to college, and what happens is I have a lot of experiences where me being I don't pass at all. I've had 4 years of being out to my parents and most of the world, and because I don't pass, I get treated quite much like an assigned female at birth kind of person, and what happens is that a lot of because I'm disabled, I have to talk a lot to my teachers and the people who work with me at school quite a bit, and I end up having these situations where for example, I was having a conversation once with a teaching assistant of mine, and the conversation was mostly about my experiences being trans, and I ended up talking about maybe having surgery in the future. I have some thoughts. I'd like chest surgery, really. I'm not sure about bottom surgery, but chest surgery is it's a big thing that I'm thinking about. And what happened was she didn't know how to deal with it, because I was talking about surgery. Something went through her head, and suddenly she stands up and she's like, let's go to the what was it called? Student services. Let's go to student services. And she takes me to student services, and I'm like, huh, what's going on? And she takes me there, and suddenly there's a meeting all of a sudden with the lady who works with autistic students at our school, and the teaching assistant I was talking to is she's telling the lady who works with autistic students, about what was happening, and I'm sitting there like, what's going on? And what happened was they were kind of thinking I was threatening or something. I was saying I'm gonna mutilate myself. I think that was what was going through their mind at the time. And that kind of experience, kind of made me think of quite a lot of things, because it's
right.
I thought it
So
really
I think,
kind of, meant quite,
Yeah,
I thought
I'm
it really
hearing you.
kind of, yeah.
Sorry, do you want
Sorry, there's a
you
bit
felt
of a
it really-
delay.
Sorry, I don't think I can hear you very well on the other side.
Oh, that's okay. I
Um,
was just saying, I hear you. I understand. I think that. Oh, first of all, I just want to say, your accent is brilliant, and it's good to hear other British people. And I like how your location is down as Northamptonshire. That's great. Yay. Anyway, I totally I hear you on this, and I think that particularly in the UK, and particularly for assigned female at birth people, there is a lot of propaganda about how there are no real trans people like that. They're all just autistic people who are confused, and they're going to mutilate themselves, and they're just being tricked into it by the scary trans lobby and the perverted trans women and all this kind of stuff. So I understand, I guess, if you're probably going to encounter this as an autistic person who's assigned female at birth, who's trans. You're going to encounter these attitudes, and it's worth being informed, I guess, for when you come across people like this, because you'll get three types of reaction. You'll get people who do not know anything, and they've seen one or two things on the radio, and they're just worried about it, and they want what's best for you, but they're just, they've heard you shouldn't trust autistic trans people. They're not real. So they've just, and you just need to be ready to say to them, actually, here's the facts. You can look up and say,
that reminds me of something
autism.
that a lady she said in the conversation we had, where she implied something along the lines of like, oh, well, autistic, girls, they have such a hard time, with puberty, which is, and all the, I hear that and I'm like, huh? Like, it was a really ridiculous thing she said, and she noticed instantly, and then she started like denying that she even said that, which is the most ridiculous part,
I think that so on the like 3 types of reactions, you'll get the people who are confused, you'll get the people who know what they're talking about, and they'll be clued up on autism and trans stuff because they've done their stuff, and you'll get the gender critical, tough, transphobic style people who know that they don't like trans, and autism is a way of like deflecting from that, and they'll say these things. They'll be like, that's such a classic gender critical talking point. They might have picked it up from reading shit newspapers, because all the UK newspapers are shit about trans people, but quite possibly they're one of these psycho people who tweets 24 hours a day about how they hate trans women. So this thing about, all autistic girls struggle with puberty and it's just a natural reaction and we need to hold them back, it is wrong. It's not true, but also importantly, there's a difference between struggling with puberty and being a trans person. And if if you're struggling yourself to tell the difference, or if the people in your life who are your guardians and stuff are struggling, then you should see an expert, and they should help you see an expert, because there will be someone who will be someone who'll be very informed and will be able to, diagnose you either way, as autistic or as trans or both or as neither. And it's just being very aware that there are going to be some people who have some bullshit agenda where they do not like, particularly they don't like trans women and non-binary and trans boys. They don't like assigned female at birth young people transitioning, and they don't like assigned male at birth old people transitioning, and that's like such a classic divide. So I think that the thing to do is be aware of these different types of people and learn how to respond to all of them, because you're going to encounter all of them, and just be aware of people who are trying to sabotage you.
I also think you should I would hope that you could even maybe you do, I don't know, I'm assuming a little bit here, but I would hope that you would come to feel like empowered to it's really strange that this teacher thinks that they have any input on anything besides your education. In that situation, I think it would have been totally appropriate for you to say, I respect that you are trying to, maybe you think you're doing something good here, but the only thing I need your input on is how this relates to my education, and this does not relate to my education whatsoever. You are completely entitled to set that boundary.
Thing is, as an autistic person, when you're going to school, it's I think they kind of treat it as also they're trying to teach you how to socialize in a way, if that makes sense. Because most autistic people were quite bad at social interactions. So I think it was also kind of a mixture of that, where I think they felt comfortable with not talking about my education, but more overstepping like that. Because they thought, oh yeah, we've got to put you on the right track, we've got to correct, what kind of, stupid idea you got in your head,
Yeah, I think that it's you can still put your foot down and say, I understand that you're trying to do the best for me as an autistic person, but I think that you're conflating it with what's the best for me as a trans person, and you're treating it like it's one or the other, and it isn't. It's both. You can and should help me as an autistic person and as a trans person separately. And anything you've read about how you can only be one or the other, or autistic people are being tricked into being trans, is just nonsense. There's no evidence for that at all. Taking the skeptical angle on this, there is literally no evidence to suggest that autistic people are being tricked being trans. Just false. So setting boundaries is very difficult when you're a college student, but it can be important. Sorry.
Are you talking right now? I can't hear you very well on the other side.
That's okay.
Sorry.
No, go for
The
it.
connection is a bit bad.
All the way from Northampton to Bristol via Texas or wherever.
1 minute. Maybe if I listen to the stream, I can probably get a better connection than on the phone.
There'll probably be a terrible delay then. Yeah, I hope that's helped.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, it did, because it gave me like a different, way of thinking about the situation, really. It's like a lot of, I think it's kind of like, because I have to interact a lot with teachers and teaching assistants and put a lot of my faith in them and a lot of my, well-being in the hands of, people, educators, basically. What happens is I have to lean on them quite a bit, and I don't know where I'm going to. I've kind of lost my train of thought, but...
No, that's okay. I understand. I think it's hard when you're younger.
They can easily talk over me quite a bit,
Yeah.
So if an educator, for example, I say, hey, I've had like a really bad experience with so and so. Can I have somebody else work with me? It's quite hard to kind of, it's quite hard to really back myself up, because somebody else could either say, no, so and so was perfectly fine to you. You're being ridiculous, especially because, as an autistic person, I think there's a very big stereotype of being a liar.
Yeah, it's
just
a shame.
A lot of teachers kind of treat you like you're lying all the time if you have any problems at all, or if you're having a meltdown or a breakdown in school, you're doing it on purpose.
Yeah, that's grim.
That's kind of a big problem with it, and I'm sure for anyone who's a trans woman or assigned male at birth, it's also kind of a problem for them. The whole lying stereotype.
Sure.
Because that could probably make sense with some things.
Yeah, I think that it's very difficult when you're young and you're relying on teachers. So for all the American and everyone else viewers, college in the UK is age 16 rather than age 18. So you're still very much a minor, and these teachers aren't just responsible for teaching you, they're responsible for everything about your life while you're at school. And it's very hard to set boundaries when you are a child and the adults are telling you things. And it's unfortunately
I'm
both as an autistic... Oh, okay, sorry. Right, okay. It's still very difficult to set. It's still very difficult to set boundaries. No, that's okay. I'm sorry for assuming. But it's still very difficult to set boundaries over teachers and people claiming to be the authorities and experts in your life, especially when you're autistic and especially when you're a trans person, because in both cases, you're going to come up against people who think they know what they're talking about and they just don't. And it puts you in the difficult situation of having to be in control. But yeah, I hope that's helped.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else you wanted to add, Arden?
Absolutely, yeah.
Nope, I think that was perfect.
That's okay. Well, thank you
all.
very much for calling in, and good luck with it. And yeah, wicked. Thank you for being the last caller on our first ever show.
Thanks, Samson.
Hey.
Bye.
Hey, thanks for checking out this clip for The Line. While you're here, hit that like button, hit subscribe, turn on notifications, and then share this with that bitter uncle of yours who loves talking about the good old days.